Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on the power of automated WeChat journeys. My name is Shiana, and I'm the marketing manager at ChatLabs. And thank you again for joining today's session. So we have Alison, the regional vice president of Greater China at Salesforce, our very own ChatLabs VP of strategy, Tom, and then joining us as a panelist, Jerri, the APAC marketing and communication director at Delvaux. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things off to Alison now.
Perfect. Okay. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Alison, and I'm here to introduce Salesforce Marketing Cloud, why we're here today, and also our partnership with ChatLabs. So before I dive in, I just wanted to give a quick reminder that customers should base their purchasing decisions based on products and services that are currently available. Of course, I'd like to start by saying thank you. We know that there's a lot going on right now. There are many, many webinars, so we're truly appreciative of everyone's time today to spend with us. So setting the context, we're here today to talk about marketing, moments-based marketing, and marketing automation. I think for us, marketing has always been about building relationships, about building loyalty that translates into growth and revenue. So the question really is, how do you build these relationships with the digital-first customer? What we see with today's digital-first customer, every moment counts. Every moment helps to build a relationship. So it's expected that those moments are connected, relevant, trustworthy, and also human. We see that 84% of customers say that being treated like a person, not a number, is very important to winning their business. But they also say that most companies don't treat them as unique individuals. So what we're ultimately trying to drive as marketers is to drive growth, revenue, customer lifetime value. And we believe that in order to get to a place where we can kind of share these real-time moments with customers, we need to shift engagements from being static, kind of one-off, brand-driven, to kind of a fluid and more customer driven, which requires an amount of sophistication and data that we use to evolve as well. Shifting back to the topic today, which is about WeChat, I believe most of you joining the webinar today already know that the China ecosystem is unique. A lot of the Western platforms do not work. Brand websites play a secondary role to marketplaces and also social commerce. And we see, email marketing is rarely used. And in China, it's not just mobile first, but for many, it's mobile only. So with that, not only are the platforms in China different, but the user behaviors are different as well. I think what we're seeing is that, China's social media and commerce platforms are constantly iterating and trying new things. And I think Chinese customers have an incredible willingness to adapt. If something is more convenient, more fun, there's more of a monetary benefit, they're more likely to adopt that. So based on our research, we're seeing that, Chinese consumers are increasingly more experience-driven and seeking out fresh, new experiences. So what does that mean for us, as brands? What we're seeing is that brands want more control. Right? While marketplaces continue to be dominant, we see brands in the region wanting to regain some of that ownership through their .cn or even methods like WeChat, which is what we're speaking about today. This is because it allows them to, have control of their data, how things look in terms of the, UI and the overall experience, and also to have a more loyal and intimate relationship with their customer. So of course, WeChat is a great opportunity to do that. And we'll hear shortly from ChatLabs on exactly, how you can do that and some of the best practices. Because we see outside of marketplaces, WeChat mini program stores are the next, largest source of revenue for many brands. And have become very popular with a lot of luxury brands as well. So we're seeing WeChat become that kind of core engagement hub. To wrap things off, some of you on the line may be existing Salesforce customers or prospects of Salesforce, and you're probably asking, so we've heard a lot about marketing, we've heard a lot about WeChat, but what's Salesforce got to do with this, and how does this fit in the bigger picture? For those of you who are new, at a high level, Salesforce is really about bringing brands closer to their customer and helping them to build a 360 view of their end customer. And while today we've spoken a lot about marketing, creating that amazing customer experience extends, beyond that to sales, service. It requires deep analytics and integration, right? Which is really the benefit of the Salesforce 360 platform. And one of the reasons that we've decided to partner with ChatLabs is really about bringing our strength around not only technology, which is around scale, right? The ability to handle large volumes of scale, especially during peak periods if you're a retail brand. That security, right? The importance of keeping that data safe, right? And having a very transparent view. But lastly is also the partner ecosystem. I think with Salesforce, we're not just about building the technology, we're about helping our customers succeed. So we have a very rich partner ecosystem, with ChatLabs being one of the partners, who build, best in breed, WeChat capabilities that are able to integrate with our Salesforce Open platform. And with that, I will hand over to Tom, who will speak more about ChatLabs and more about WeChat.
Awesome. Thank you, Alison. I really appreciate that. For those of you who didn't catch the introduction, my name is Tom, Vice President of Strategy here at ChatLabs, based in Asia. And what I really want to kind of talk about now, kind of dovetailing on what Alison just presented, is how do we take the consumer expectation of that friendship that Alison talked about and really build that into really an actionable marketing strategy that you can use in China across multiple channels, marketplaces, but really with WeChat at its center. And we really want to take a look at what I'm calling building one-to-one automations in 2021. And I think before we jump into kind of the hows and the whys, I think I just want to start with an introduction to ChatLabs, which is our approach to digital is really kind of reinventing from a funnel to very much what we call the flywheel. And the reason we love this diagram of the flywheel is that we know that happy customers lead to more happy customers. And it's not just about a one-time marketing attribution on an advertisement that leads to a sale. It's really about not just the marketing, not just the conversion, but really that interactions that you have over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years through your customer service and engagement outreach that then drives them to make repeat purchases themselves, but really drives word of mouth to then have them introduce your brand to many other people, whether that's in China or around the world. And so the flywheel approach to us is very, very crucial. And that's really how we've structured the solutions that we offer, the strategies that we build, and really where we recommend brands really put their attention in China. Now, I think it's relevant to kind of say where we help brands find success. We, as Alison said, are very proud to be a partner of Salesforce, and we are really looking to integrate everything into Salesforce. We are, in many ways at ChatLabs, view ourselves as an extension of the experiences that you've already built in Salesforce. And we just want to help you bring data into Salesforce and then use that Salesforce data to then engage your contacts and clients in China through Chinese channels, specifically, and very much relevant for today, the different Tencent platforms that we take a look at. We support brands across a wide range. We have one speaking on the call today, and we're very excited to have Jerri with us. But we work with many premium brands, financial service brands, travel brands throughout the world. Now, enough of the sales pitch, so let's jump into WeChat and why it's very relevant and still important today in 2021. And, I think a question that I get a lot of times, and I always want to start with this slide, is that in China, China is the land of marketplace and super apps. And it seems like every year there's a new app that's kind of risen to fame, whether that's Douyin, the TikTok of China, Meituan. We've seen Baidu, of course, has been a player for many years, the whole Alibaba ecosystem, even older platforms like Mafengwo, and even more recently, Xiaohongshu, Little Red Book. But so many of these platforms have really become super apps in themselves. And kind of where does WeChat fit in comparison and in competitiveness compared to these different applications? And what I always want to drive people back to is, Alison talked about how the consumer in 2021 is really looking for that friendship from the brand. They want to be special. They want the brand to know who they are, and they really want relevant experiences based on their life cycle with the brand. And WeChat is so good for that. And the reason WeChat really shines in this area is that when you look at all the functionalities of WeChat, of course, you have the messaging. And a lot of times when we compare WeChat to the West, we say it has the social capabilities of Facebook. It has the professional capabilities of a LinkedIn or maybe a Zoom. It has the ability to order rides. You can transfer money. You can shop directly within WeChat and a whole host of other services. But what I want to really focus you on is the way that WeChat really kind of grew up and really kind of had its fame was that really early on, China SMS was quite expensive. And with China SMS being expensive, Wi-Fi was pretty prevalent and you could get Wi-Fi fairly easy. And what WeChat offered was a way to send your friends and family messages using Wi-Fi, which was free and easy to get. And that's really where WeChat grew up, was as a messaging component. And that's really where WeChat shines today. And what I mean by that is that on WeChat, you're not just subscribing to a news feed that you get once a week. On WeChat, you're not just subscribing to a brand page where you check maybe once every year or so to check your loyalty points. With WeChat, if you look at my homepage here, the screenshot on the left, at the very top, you have my wife, and I message her on WeChat all the time. You have some of my work chats below that. At the very bottom, I even have my mom and my parents who are in America, and they message me on WeChat. And you have all of your friends and family that you talk with on a day-to-day, your work friends, your work contacts, maybe a client or two on WeChat. But nestled within that homepage and kind of in between all of those chats that I have, you'll even see a chat from a brand. And when you click that brand that even has a little notification bubble, it goes to their brand WeChat official account. Now, to me, that's so relevant. And to me, that's so special in China, because WeChat, the homepage on WeChat where you chat with everyone, that's very much the homepage for your life. And on that homepage, you have brands that have direct access to that homepage and are treated just like a friends and family contact would be. And that's really important, because as you build a WeChat strategy, you have to remember that on WeChat, your brand is a friend. And that's super, super important as you build out any e-commerce strategy. That's important as you build out a customer service strategy. And that's very relevant as you build out marketing automations to be embedded within WeChat. Now, in terms of how do you do that, I want to give you two keys today, two keys to success for automation built on Tencent, built on WeChat. And the first is to know your follower. And I think that this seems like a no-brainer, but we work with many brands, and it's fascinating to me how little some of the brands actually know about the people that follow and subscribe to their WeChat channels. And China is very interesting, because in China, unlike the West, because of the way the marketplaces and the different super apps are structured, when somebody uses WeChat, they're in an always logged in state. And so unlike a website that you browse, or a paid media page that you visit, or a Facebook page that you follow, when someone subscribes to your WeChat channel, when they follow your WeChat official account, that person is an always logged in state, meaning that their profile is identifiable, meaning that we know who they are. We can see the way they interact. We can see the menu bars they click on, the QR codes they scan, the payments they make, the way they use your WeChat mini program. And that's not just true about WeChat, but that's true about many of the social channels in China. But as we grow up in 2021, we know that one consumer, one client in China is not going to just use WeChat, but they're going to engage with your brand across multiple different channels, experiences, touch points, and social media platforms. And I think it's really important to know that there is a ways, and what you can do is there is possibilities to actually stitch data across multiple different attributes, across multiple different touch points. And what I mean by that is when you look at, for example, the Tencent ecosystem, many of those experiences, whether it's a click on a mini program, whether it's a visit to a page, whether it's the scanning of a WeChat official account QR code, or paying for a product within a mini program, all those interactions can be tied back to a single ID, even before we collect phone number. And that's really important, because you can get a wealth of knowledge about the people who interact with your brand, even before we've fully identified who they are. Now, the same is true for a lot of other touch points. But I think what's really cool and what's really important, and really where I want to encourage your brand to go, is think about not just identifying WeChat followers and your Tmall followers as two individual profiles, but let's start to think about how we can start to stitch together these profiles across multiple mediums, so that your followers on WeChat, the people that engage with your mini programs, can also be identified. That same profile, that same client can also be identified through a Tmall transaction, or maybe an Alipay purchase, maybe an offline store transaction that you have on site. All of those really need to be stitched together if we really want to know who our follower is, and if we really want to start to know what point of their life cycle with your brand they're at. And I think it's important to know that as you stitch these together, we always want to keep in mind molding that into a 360 view. And really where we come into play here is that we want to help you gather some of that insights from WeChat and other channels and start to bring that into your CDP or your CRM profiles in Salesforce, mapping those to existing contacts and leads, mapping those to different client profiles so that you as a marketer can start to build out that holistic view of your clients in one single platform across multiple channels that they engage with. So that's key number one, and that's really the foundation of what we'd want to build. Key number two now is very much building the friendship. So once you know who that person is, once you have a good idea of where they stand with your brand and why they follow your brand, I think it's really important that we take a look at how to build that friendship. And if we come back to our flywheel, I want to start with, you always need to identify the next best action. You know, when it comes to your automations in China, too many times what I see of brands in China is they post 4 times per month and that's about it. They don't think of other engagements. And I think if we look at the flywheel, at every point in this flywheel, there's very relevant marketing automations and experiences that you can deploy that fit the next best action of what that consumer and client is looking for. So for example, when someone follows your WeChat account for the first time, you can create welcome messages and a welcome journey that's unique to where and how they followed the account. Or maybe if it's their second time following your account, that's a great time to maybe send a personalized messaging, welcoming them back to your account rather than welcoming them for the first time. Same thing goes for sales. Let's say that someone's browsing your e-commerce mini program that Alison mentioned, and they're in that e-commerce mini program and they click on a product, they add that to their shopping cart, but then they exit the mini program without purchase. Well, because of the always logged in state, that's a great time to be able to engage and then to be able to create abandoned cart notifications directly within WeChat. The next is when someone makes a payment for the first time. That's a great experience where you're able to create maybe, let's say, a first-time purchaser journey. Same thing goes for shipping updates, customer care journeys, service requests, NPS scoring. Those are all very relevant automations that you can make directly within WeChat to make sure that people who are following your brand can get real-time content. So as I was saying, I think identifying that next best action so that from the interactions that are made within WeChat, whether that's, a purchase for the first time, a customer care journey that you want to run, if someone purchases a watch, let's say for the first time from your brand, the journey that you can create after that is very much how to take care of that watch. And that's a great use of the automation capabilities that WeChat definitely enables. Now, where you can enable that, if we look at the WeChat ecosystem, there's welcome journeys. So someone follows your account, you can ask them questions and really get them to respond. And that's a great use of a welcome journey automation. There's the weekly broadcast. I know that I mentioned a lot of brands just post 4 times per month. Now, there is the limit that you can only post 4 times per month per user. But one of the benefits of that is that you can actually personalize the 4 messages that that user receives. So if you wanted to, for example, let's say that that someone's a VIP, or another term is a VIC, a very important customer, those profiles can get a different weekly broadcast than, let's say, your generic audience that you haven't identified yet. And that's a great way to really use the broadcast capabilities to its full potential. Another use is template message. Now, at ChatLabs, we send out a template message as a reminder for an event, but you can also use template messages for shipping updates. You can use them for purchase confirmation, receipt information, warranty, loyalty. There's really a whole host of use cases that you can use a template message for. And the benefit is the template message, although it can't be used for full marketing, it doesn't count against your 4 broadcasts per month. And that's something that we can market and automate directly from the data that you have in Salesforce and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Another example is the menu bar. So with the WeChat menu bar, you can actually personalize the look and feel of that menu bar and the links that it goes to based on the profiles that you have and based on the profile segmentations that you build out. And then last but not least, something that I haven't spent a lot of time talking about, but I think is really, really relevant today is WeCom. And WeCom, if you're not familiar with it, used to be called WeChat Work. WeCom is a one-to-one messaging solution so that, let's say you have a brand ambassador or a store associate on site, they can actually add one of your clients on a one-to-one relationship. They can message back and forth. And so your team can use WeCom. The client uses their personal WeChat account. They can have a conversation, but you as the marketer get full access to that contact history. And that's really important because then not only can they have one-to-one messages, but as a marketer, you can actually create broadcast messages that are automated from WeCom to the clients, and you can broadcast that from the backend perspective. So a lot of automations that you can tap into. And I think it's important to note that always choose the right automation tool or the right automation channel, whether that's a weekly broadcast, menu bar, or a WeCom broadcast, to that next stage in the life cycle that I identified. So whether that's the marketing, sales, service, depending on where they are and depending on the action that you want to trigger, think about using each one of these in its own way. And really each one of these has a best way to be used. Now, I do want to say from an automation perspective, I think many of you are Salesforce clients. We at ChatLabs, we do have a connector into Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And all of these channels, we have both bilateral communication. So whether you want to run a WeChat welcome journey when someone follows your account for the first time, whether you want to run a weekly broadcast segmentation, a template message that's personalized with Salesforce data, a menu bar tracking. So if you want to track the clicks on a menu bar, all of those within the WeChat official account are fully powered by Marketing Cloud and can be fully planned as an omnichannel approach within your journey builder experiences. Now, on top of that, we also now, starting this week, we're actually launching a WeCom connector. So you can use WeCom directly within Marketing Cloud, and you can create personalized one-to-one outreach as a marketer through your store associates or through your B2B sales managers who use WeCom, and you can create those journeys that are triggered through WeCom directly from Journey Builder and Marketing Cloud as well. And so really the power there that we want to drive is as you build omnichannel journeys that stretch not just China and not just the different Chinese channels, maybe email and SMS, we want to help you enable so that you can easily drag and drop onto Journey Builder and Marketing Cloud all of these different WeChat experiences as well. Now, one experience that I do want to give you, which is, let's say that someone wants to visit a Moments ad, and they visit a Moments ad, they follow your WeChat official account. We can track from that Moments ad how many of those people actually followed the account, and then we can actually do attribution. So when someone follows your WeChat official account from a Moments ad, we can attribute that campaign as first touch to that WeChat profile, bring that data back into wherever you'd like it stored. Now, let's say 3 weeks later, someone goes to your brand store, and again, this is an offline transaction, and then they scan a QR code to pay with WeChat Pay. Now, from that, we can also track that interaction. We can bring that back to that same profile, even though it's an offline transaction. And then we can start to tag the purchase details of that profile from the POS and start to tie that in. Now, from our perspective, there's kind of two message automations that you'd want to make. One, let's say that for Marketing Cloud, we've brought that campaign attribution data back into Marketing Cloud. We've identified that this follower and contact has come from a specific campaign. Well, your welcome message can be personalized and should be personalized based on how they followed your account and from which campaign. Same thing goes for the purchase. After someone makes a purchase, I think it's really relevant that in your journeys that you plan out, specifically in Journey Builder, start to think about the template messages and the customer care journeys that you can create that aren't just 1 or 2 weeks, but that could span 6, 8, or even 12 weeks long, using WeChat template messages that are really personalized and educated based on the data that we've collected, that then we're storing then in Marketing Cloud or in maybe core CRM as well. Now, with that, let me close out. And as I come in for a landing here and introduce our next speaker, Jerri, I just want to introduce that, we can support. I think when it comes to enabling 360 profile management with Salesforce, that's very much where we can support your team. And so we do have a WeCom solution so that you can use your Salesforce data directly within WeCom and be able to manage and profile those. And then also from a marketing automation side, from that 360 profile log, that's data that we can bring back and that we store as well through our solutions, and that we can track as users engage with you across multiple channels. And as I close out, it wouldn't be right of me to not share a QR code. So feel free to use your phone. You can scan my QR code, add me on WeChat, and I'd love to connect. And we'll make sure that you have my presentation. Apologies if it was a bit blurry there, technical difficulties, but we'll make sure that you have access to this presentation after this call. So with that, let me hand off to Shiana and Jerri.
Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Jerri, again, for joining our webinar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So the first question, with more and more social apps gaining popularity in China, where do you feel WeChat fits in the China digital ecosystem in 2021?
I think that's a very good question. I think WeChat more than ever, plays a very important role, at least for Delvaux. bearing in mind Delvaux is close to 200 years old. So moving into the digital age has been very interesting and has been quite an adventure, a very good adventure. So I think from our experience with WeChat and then with ChatLabs, it's been an incredible journey because it's opened up so many options and opportunities to connect with our followers, to connect with our audience. And exactly like what Tom and Alison was saying, coming from an editorial background, I've always been a proponent of uh, giving audiences, our clients, a customized experience, customized content. And I think this is the future moving forward, where currently in, most people are inundated with a flood of information. So, it's always been my view to personalize, customize the experience, customize that content, like what Alison was saying earlier. Everyone wants to feel unique. It's all about individuality, I think, moving forward. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. So you talked about individuality and yeah, what more do you think can luxury brands do on WeChat, or even just in different
I think,
digital transformation projects?
well, I think at least for WeChat, because, WeChat is such a special platform. It allows many things, and I don't think we have fully, well, Delvaux hasn't fully explored all the possibilities,
Mhm.
but we are slowly moving in the right direction, doing binding mini program campaigns, which has been very successful, and what we've seen is there's been a trend of more trust in the WeChat community in terms of, our mini program store. Um, uh, Average ticket has increased um, tremendously. Yeah. As recent as compared to 1.5 years ago. And I think that is a reflection of the trust of the community in this platform. I think as what Tom was saying, CRM. So I call it as CRM. Sending out birthday reminders, engaging with our VICs, engaging with our prospects, also engaging with our followers. We have done one of our best performing um, mini program campaigns was during Chinese New Year. One of the binding campaigns was, we did a customized greeting. So you were able to send a personalized greeting during Chinese New Year and during Valentine's Day to your loved ones. With of course a very signature with a very signature Delvaux branding, and essentially that's what it does is it's a ripple effect. When you send something out, people get to know the brand more, and and another one was during the 520 campaign. I'm sure everyone knows 520 is a huge um, uh, campaign, a huge festival in China. Um, I would have to say it's one of the biggest, so there's 520, there's 618, and then double 11, and then coming up very soon, there's a double 12. Yeah, so all these are the prime campaigns in China. And I have to say we were very successful with our 520 campaign where we had like the Japanese, the egg machine, and that was proven very successful in terms of binding with our clients, understanding them better, identifying who our core clients are.
Wow. A lot of these initiatives are really helpful for WeChat binding.
They are, and our partnership with ChatLabs have, this sounds like a paid ad. It's not. But I sound like a YouTuber, but no, but it's true, it's opened up a lot of insights for us, and it's very interesting for me as a marketer, to be able to explore and to have um, results-oriented, targeted campaigns, and that's what we are after, right? And not just, you know, do something off the cuff and then just hope for the best. So everything is very targeted. It's all about analytics, and it's at least in my opinion, there's some sort of guarantee, because when you do targeted marketing, you can kind of expect. And so far, our results has surpassed our expectations. So that's been, very good for us.
Great. Sorry, Tom, can you jump in real quick and explain what data binding is for those who don't know?
Sure. Yeah, data binding is taking maybe a profile attribute like phone number or first name, last name, and then attaching that and mapping that to a WeChat follower.
And Jerri, how have you used Salesforce to power these different WeChat initiatives that you just mentioned with all these data binding? How does it go into your CRM?
Well, like for instance, if we have a special event, or when we have a store opening, we are able to reach out to, based on our data, we are able to reach out to people in the area to invite them to, for instance, an event or a store opening, and then to cross-reference that with our own data on Salesforce to reach out to identify who our VICs, and based on their pattern based on their habits, based on their pattern, we are able to identify who could possibly be a prospect. And I think that's very interesting. It's opened up a lot of opportunities, like I said, for our CRM team and for us also in terms of marketers.
Sorry, for those who don't know, can you explain a little bit about what VICs are and what kind of different segments you have?
Of course. So VIC, as Tom explained earlier, it's very important clients. They are like VIPs or EICs, however you want to call them. But they are very important to us because, they are our they are clients who love the brand, and we treat all our clients with a lot of special care. As Alison, I want to reiterate, it's all about giving all our clients, whether if they're prospects or VICs, with the same sort of attention, with the same sort of care, and to get to know them better, and to give them a customized or a personalized experience. I think, this is the true mark of luxury, in my opinion, because I remember we had this conversation before, like what sets luxury apart, and that is customization, personalization, understanding your client.
And with these personalization, customization, were there any challenges that you faced in the beginning when you tried to execute these digital transformation projects?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think with all first timers, especially getting into China, and then the constantly evolving landscape, the changing regulations and stuff. I think for any international brand coming into China, I think you have to be prepared for that, but you just have to keep moving. You just have to keep understanding, keep learning. It's, they call it the China speed. And it's exactly that, China moves at warp speed. So, you just have to buckle up, and then you have to keep learning,
Mhm.
And I think the other thing, what this Salesforce, ChatLabs, and this whole ecosystem, what it allows us to do, it also, because a lot of brand, and I'm sure this is the case, not just Delvaux, is how to connect online to offline, right? To
Mm.
make it a 360 seamless experience. And that has allowed us to do that. This partnership has allowed us to do that. Of course, we are still in the um, we are still work in progress.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we are still learning, constantly learning. I think that's the key in China.
And what do you feel like is the biggest lesson that you've learned since you've entered the China market?
Patience.
How so?
I think you have to be patient, to not get frustrated. You have to understand the market. Because it's a lot of moving plates in China. Yeah. But then with that comes huge rewards, at least for me. I think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating market. It keeps you on your toes, and no rest for the wicked, I guess.
Oh, thank you, Jerry, for answering all those
Thank
questions.
you.
Being such a great supporter of ChatLabs and Salesforce. Yeah, not paid advertisement, guys.
No paid advertising.
Okay, well, I guess with that, I just got a question in the Q&A section. What gives a WeChat campaign that luxury feel? I know you mentioned before, yeah,
Yes.
customization, personalization is key, but anything else
Yeah,
that
and
you
I
think?
think assets, assets are key, especially on WeChat, because when you upload content, you need beautiful assets. So assets are like creative imaging, videos. I think that helps a lot, because on mobile all the time, images, videos are key.
Mhm.
And I think what we've seen also is, a mini program store is an extension of our content on
Mm.
WeChat, because it's like a digital magazine. I think that's exactly what it is. I think in many ways it's kind of it hasn't fully taken over a publication, because that's just not possible. But it's essentially that, and it's essentially a brand taking charge of how they want to um, manage their tone of voice, what kind of information they want to go out. Because in the past, many, many years ago, it was just through collaboration with print publications. So now it's an opportunity for the brand, just like IG, just like Facebook, but more can be done on WeChat. And I think that's the most amazing thing. And what it's allowed me to do, a former editor, is that it's allowed me to play with content. And then and also, if you think about it, when people look at magazines, fashion magazines, or whatever magazines, it's there's always that uh, aspirational, wanting to see what's out there, what's to buy. So that is, if you think about it, it's exactly that. You have the content on WeChat, and then you have the mini program store, and then it allows you to have that piece of dream, to buy into that universe, that whether you are a fan of, or um, whether you hope to be a part of.
Mm.
I hope I answered that question.
we'll see if that person is going to ask any more questions with that. But the next one, let's see. Someone asked, what are some best practices for running omnichannel marketing journeys, and how does Salesforce Marketing Cloud support that? So Jerri or Alison.
Yeah, I can start, and maybe if the other panelists want to jump in. I mean, I think ultimately Salesforce Marketing Cloud is really about, consolidating that data to give marketers that single view. And I think we allow it to be very easy, right? So that any marketer can go in and, create that journey, and it's not complex. They don't need maybe their IT team to support. But when I think about like best practices, I think a lot of the speakers today spoke about that. I think number one, it's really about taking a step back. Just because it's easy, we still need to plan, right? Having a strategy, right? And having kind of a goal-based approach to what do we actually want to achieve from these like omni-channel journeys. I think that comes down to, really understanding your customers, understanding the data that you have. And I think number two is really about how do we create like true one-to-one personalization? Spoke a lot about that today, but going beyond maybe just even the segment to that individual. And I think the last one is really the best practice is around constant optimization. I think we're always learning, right? It's about test and learn. It's not just creating a journey and then forgetting about it. It's going back and tweaking and updating and making sure that we're always, trying to make everything a little bit better. And I think that's, maybe what I would share from my perspective.
Jerri, you want to add on anything from your experience with using the marketing
No,
cloud?
I think Alison said it perfectly. So nothing to add. Yeah.
Great.
If I could just add, just want to piggyback on Alison there for a second and what she just said. I think one thing that's really key for me is, especially when you're looking at your KPIs for omnichannel, it doesn't always mean revenue. A lot of times it could just mean better customer service. And I think in luxury, better customer service can mean a lot better revenue down the line, 1 or 2 years later. But I think understanding that going in and making sure that you can actually track that, did your number of service tickets go down? Did your time to respond decrease? And even if it is revenue, it might not be online. So maybe the online experiences that you have, that Jerri was mentioning, are actually driving to in-store revenue.
Yeah.
But the question I have for a lot of brands is, are you able to track that? And if you can't attribute it, then you can't really say whether or not your marketing automation was successful. So knowing those things going in, and then mapping, as Alison said, taking a step back and mapping to where those and what pieces need to be in the puzzle, I think that's super key from what we've seen kind of firsthand with brands.
I think, Tom, adding to what you said also, another thing we look for is fan growth. That's another factor that we look into as well.
That's a great point. Growing your community.
Growing your community. Speaking of that, how about private traffic and leading them to WeCom? Like, what are some best practices with that?
Yeah, I could probably take that one. With WeCom's newer. I think WeCom is kind of a lot of people are interested in that. It's an amazing tool. And I talked a little bit about how you can use that with your store associates. What we're seeing is that, people want that one-to-one touch. They love it through the official account, but they love it even more from your sales associates. And so if you have the resource and the manpower, definitely something to take a look at. I think best practice is not just setting up WeCom as a chat channel, but setting up WeCom as, in many ways, kind of a mobile clienteling view. So giving your sales associates the most relevant data about that consumer on their mobile device. Very, very important. You can do that really well with the Tencent ecosystem. So for example, if Tom goes to a mini program, clicks on a product and views that product, that interaction can then be filtered back into WeCom for your sales team. And so they can see that real-time insights, but setting it up as not just chat, but also mobile clienteling, we really see that as valuable.
Great, thank you. Another question is, are other clouds compatible with WeChat as well? We use Service Cloud. Can you connect that with WeChat?
Yes.
Great. Another question for Jerri. How do you implement online to offline or O2O journeys without kind of diminishing that luxurious feel?
Well, for instance, you can do client registration online. So that's what a lot of brands do when they have an offline event. They have registration, allowing clients to register, and then when they attend the event, then using QR code to scan. So that's one way. Yeah. Many brands have done that. Another one is gifting. Yeah. Doing gifting, but then you either register online and then they pick it up offline. That's another way. But I think one of the very good examples would be having an offline event and then having clients register online. I think that is by far the most commonly used strategy.
Great, thank you for that. To close this webinar out, what teams internally do you suggest are involved with WeChat planning?
So for me, I work closely with the CRM team.
You want to add something, Tom, or?
Yeah, sure.
CRM
No,
and
I think,
retail.
yeah, I think CRM is definitely the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe think about, Jerry made a great point that content is king. And I think as with everything you do, I think the CRM team is there to help you build profiles. Marketing team is there to actually make it a luxury experience. And so
Yeah.
that combination, I think, go hand in hand. And then you can always bring in like a product management team for, let's say, an e-commerce store or other capabilities.
You know, we are, well, I want to say we are a fairly small team. So, you know, I work with retail team. I work with the merchant team, and I also work with the CRM. But mostly, I work with the retail and the CRM team.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jerry, for
Thank
all
you.
these answering all these questions.
Luciana, do we want to maybe answer one last question? I feel a few people have asked around, you know, PIPL and, you know, Salesforce and the Alibaba partnership. So I thought take maybe two minutes just to address that, and then we can wrap. So I saw a few questions. I mean, I think the, you know, how we would answer kind of the changing regulations around PIPL is we're really working with each individual Salesforce customer to really map that out, right? We're not here to give legal advice, but we certainly can, you know, work with each individual customer to design, you know, how we would, you know, best address those concerns. So I think if you are an existing Salesforce customer, you know, please reach out to your account executive and we will have our team, you know, jump right on that. I think the question is also around, you know, Salesforce and our partnership with AliCloud. So for those of you who don't know, that is in place, and we actually will be, you know, releasing some products on AliCloud this year. You'll hear, you know, more about that in the coming weeks, and there'll be announcements. And we'll also be doing an announcement at Dreamforce, which is, you know, one of our largest conferences globally. That's actually kicking off next week. So if you're interested, you know, please reach out to me or tune into Dreamforce. And that's it for me, Anna.
Thank you again for joining, everyone. And yeah, thank you, Tom, Jerry, and Alison for giving such great presentations, and especially to Jerry, who is our greatest supporter.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.